It's important to me that you know this right at the top of the show today. We're here talking about life, and people are calling in and sharing stories, and I'm sharing my thoughts and feelings regularly here in this space, and sometimes on the social media apps. I want you to know that I'm not trying to tell you how to live. We're just talking. These are my opinions, and I am aware this week that maybe when we're talking like this, it can maybe start to sound like Kevin's trying to tell us how to live. And you know what? I've been through that before in the olden days, and so have a lot of you. And I'm sensitive to that. I don't ever want to be in a position where where anyone thinks it feels like I'm trying to tell you the right way. I don't know what the right way is. All of the stuff I'm saying here on this show, and especially when I'm talking a lot lately about, I personally have the desire to unplug more from social media and the internet world. I feel like there's parts about my old brain in the before times that I miss, that I'd like to kind of get my concentration back. And when I'm talking about that stuff, I really want you guys to know I'm just telling you how I feel. And I know some of you relate to that too, but I also am aware this week that some of you do not feel that way. And I do not want you to feel like I'm judging or critiquing anyone. That's not me. I like to let people be the way they are without judgment or critique. And I'll say more about that a little later in today's episode of Call Kevin. Today's beverage is a small bottle of Pellegrino water. It's in plastic, though. I prefer the glass, but I'm pouring it into a Hilton Garden Inn paper cup. I love mineral water. Is it bad for you? I've wondered that because I've been drinking it a lot lately, and I'm like, are these minerals building up in my system? Am I giving myself kidney stones or something? Somebody let me know. Is it okay to drink mineral water like all the time? It's just so refreshing. I'm doing this thing, and this goes along with my desire to unplug and my reason for opening my new art studio, Shamala Hamala, and my philosophy behind it. I'll talk about that a little bit later. But I just ordered this new cell phone that does not have any apps on it. And this is just for me. This is not a plug for this phone or anything, but I did some research on minimalist phones that can connect to modern cell towers. And you can text and make calls, but that's about it. Now, I'm on the road so much, and this is my third weekend coming to you guys from a hotel room. I've not been home since I was in Portland like over 3 weeks ago. So I've been out here. Oh my God, I'm tired. I'm ready to go home. I have a show tonight. I have Wednesday night in San Jose, California, and then I get to go home for a couple weeks. Oh my God, I'm so excited. I get the keys to Shamala Hamala. I'm mixing up a lot of information right now. I'm sorry. You know how it is these days. Call Kevin is a mess. But I just ordered this cell phone. I'm only going to use it. It's an experiment when I'm at home. Because when I'm at home and my new art studio, Shamala Hamala, is just like 3 blocks away from my house. So when I'm in my neighborhood, I rarely leave it. I'm just going to have this like simple phone that you can reach me. You can text, not you guys, but you know what I mean. People who need to text me can text me. And I'm going to turn off my smartphone and see what that feels like. Again, that's just for me. I'm not telling you guys to do that. It's an experiment for me and a thing I've been thinking about. One of the messages I got said something to the effect of, they love being plugged in 24/7. And it allows them to socialize in a way that they never could before in life. And I think if that's what you need, then great. I had another person tell me, this is a while back, that they have some disabilities, and being able to connect and use the smartphone features is amazing. I love technology. I love all things progress and science fiction and new things. I love it. I think every time a new piece of technology comes into the world, there's always like an adjustment period for people. And I have just been curious about what would it feel like to limit my own personal connection. But when I'm out here on the road like this, in hotel rooms like today, traveling, trying to find an Uber, trying to order some food, I have to have that smartphone. There'd be I do not want to travel like it's the 90s. It was the 90s. All right, anyway, that was 6 minutes of jumbled information. I'm sorry, you guys. Oh, no. Every week now, I second guess if I should start the podcast over. I just press record and I start winging it. And usually it turns out pretty cool. I mean, you guys keep listening, so it must be something. Let's dive into today's calls.
Shamala Hamala.
Same to you.
I am calling in to answer last week's prompt of what's something that you got that you thought you wanted, but then realized you didn't. And as I listened to everybody else's responses and, got thinking of my own life, I realized that basically everything I thought I wanted that I got, I realized I did not want. And here I am at 35 wondering where to go from here. I've worked so many different jobs. I got married. I thought I wanted to settle down. I had kids, and being a parent has been the hardest job of all. I was a stay-at-home parent for years, and then, when COVID and lockdowns hit, I slowly went insane and thought I have to get out of this house and get back to work. So yeah, now I'm just working a, random part-time job while the kids are in school, but yeah, now I really don't know what I want because everything I thought I wanted turned out to not be it. So yeah, life's weird. Side note, I wanted to tell you that every time you say your website name, I expect you to say shamalahamala.kamala.
It does rhyme.
So I understand why that would be confusing for new listeners or whatever, but oh god, that would just be so funny and scratch an itch. So Shamala.
I believe they just said they were 35. And I want to say to you, I was the exact same way. It took me a long time to get it together. And over the years, little by little, discovered that all the things, I relate with that. Pretty much everything that at some point that I thought that I wanted, came to realize that wasn't it at all. It took me a really long time to get it together. I would say that for me, the decade of my 40s was sort of the transformation decade of me really becoming myself and who I am today. All through my 20s and 30s, I did not know shit.
Shamala Hamala.
Oh, that's the one we just listened to. Shittala hittala. Shamala Hamala.
Hey Kevin, this is Lynn, and I've been wanting to ask a question, and I haven't really known how to actually ask it, but do you think that you have less trauma in regards to religious deconstruction because your parents were not involved in the church? I think that breaking free from religion when your parents are still deep in it can sometimes be the cause of the trauma. And I'm just curious on your thoughts with that. If having parents who were not involved made it easier for you to heal and overcome because you didn't have your family roots still tied into the church. Just curious. thank you so much for everything that you do. You're so awesome, and you've really helped a lot of people through humor. And I'm one of those people, and very grateful.
I don't know if I would quite phrase it less trauma, but definitely different. I my experience, I think, was somewhat unique. If I actually just did this interview on a podcast on YouTube called Cults to Consciousness. I know a lot of you listen to that, where we really dug into the story of sort of my private emotional prison that I was in during my church years. It was very secret and internal. Most people didn't know what was going on inside me, but it was pretty intense. Some of you may not realize that my parents did not go to that church. And I understand why you would assume that they did, because that is usually the story. But my parents weren't churchgoers through that whole experience. I just got sucked into a youth group in high school, all by myself. But I am aware that for a lot of people, the family ties factor is huge and difficult, and maybe it never ends. So in that way, that kind of trauma is for sure different. And I don't know what that's like. And I know that a lot of you do. Like even years maybe after you've made changes or decided to go down a different path, if your mom and dad and grandma and grandpa and brothers and sisters, like all the people that you love are still back there, and maybe it's tumultuous in some way, it's like you never can totally break free, I would imagine. So I think it is definitely different.
Okay, a time I was scared. So I grew up Catholic, and
Oh, real quick. The prompt I put out this week was, tell me a time in your life where you were really scared, or maybe the most scared, and what'd you do? A lot of the calls this week are around that.
for some reason, my mom thought that she would decorate little child me's room. I'm talking like under 5 years old, with a really scary crucifix, and also like a painting of a guardian angel walking a bunch of kids to heaven. And I forget, I was maybe 3 or 4 when I realized that like it was literally a picture of like dead children
Oh.
being guided to heaven. And to this day, I'm like, Mom, why even would you do that? There was also a freaking clown on a shelf. But that's not even the scariest thing. Wasn't the scariest thing to me. The scariest thing to me in that room was the humidifier. I don't remember why. I was just so scared of that thing. But I guess I needed it because I guess I would. Okay, running out of time. Anyways, when I was 5, we moved into a different house, and I kind of got to decorate my own room, and I didn't have to have the scary Jesus
Or the
or the
humidifier.
dead children or the clown or the humidifier anymore. Okay, I love you.
I remember being really young, and there was like weird things I have like memories of my grandmother's house. Someone in our family, we had an aunt and an uncle who were in the military, and they traveled a lot, and they brought all these things from foreign lands back to my grandmother's house. So she had one room that had a lot of scary things in it, a lot of masks and like faces. I was scared to go in there. And I also remember very early, my family went to Disney World. And I don't know if Disney World still has the old school rides like Peter Pan and Snow White, but the Snow White ride traumatized me because of the witch. She had those big scary eyes, and she kept popping out at you. Have you been to Disney World on the Snow White ride? Terrifying.
Hey, James, or Kevin James.
Hey.
So you wanted to know about a time when I was scared. I ended a healthy, loving relationship of 5 years because I wanted children and she didn't. And
You need a lozenge? A lozenge.
Got accepted to grad school, and I moved. And was kind of scared about my future and what would happen afterwards. And she said, we can't talk because every time I talk to you, I fall in love again. And that was 3 years ago. I think about her all the time, and I've been broke and unable to really get out of the house much because of my studies. And it's been just sadness, solitude, and silence for 3 years. And I really miss her. And I wish I had a more uplifting message, but I'm finishing up my degree, and hopefully I can start my life and not be broke in my 40s and have an okay career. But I still want hope that I'll be a father one day. And so I know it's the right decision, but it doesn't feel like it was, because I still feel like a piece of me is missing, because it's a real profound love. And that is my story.
I know I've heard of that same dynamic more than once in my life, and I don't know what you do with that. That's one of those irreconcilable things, isn't it? If you want kids, the other person doesn't. Man, what do you do? I don't know. Anyone out there have some advice for that? I also read another story recently about a couple that there was a big age gap in a cool way. Like they were both like 40 and over. Like I think she was like 55 and he was about to turn 40 or something. And they sounded like they were passionately in love, but then at some point he started talking about still wanting to have a family, and she was like 55 years old, and she's like, that's not going to happen. So she broke up with him so he could go like fulfill that part of that deep desire in his life. And he met this other girl, and a younger person, got married, they had kids, and she did any of you read this? It was like going around on Reddit or something. And then she met him again like a couple years later, and he had like a baby, and she was so happy for him, but she would talked about how they kind of like looked at each other's eyes, and they were so deeply in love, but just couldn't be, she had to let him go. Whew. What do you do in those situations? I don't know. Love is something.
Kevin.
Hi.
Hi, it's
Hello.
Lori.
Hi, Lori.
You wanted to know about a time I was scared.
Yes.
You know, life's kind of scary.
It is.
I've been scared a lot of times.
Me
but
too.
There's this one time when I got my dream job. I was headhunted. I had a job that I didn't like very much, but I was really good at it. And a headhunter found me for my dream job. And so I said yes. And I went. And it was really hard. And I was learning it, but it was hard. And my boss knew it was hard, and I wasn't doing very well. And so she fired me. And I couldn't go back to where I went before, and I had nothing. And I was terrified.
Oh, no.
And I was devastated. What am I going to do now? Well, the first thing I did.
Oh, no. It cut off. That was perfect timing. The first thing I did, the end. You know what? There were like 5 or 6 messages this week that were not usable. And I think it's because it's like the sound quality, the voice was almost, you couldn't hear it. This has happened a couple of times. I think what it is some of your devices connect to your car or your headphones. If you are going to, since we're talking about it, kevinjamesthornton.com, to record a message or ask a question or tell a story for an episode, make sure you're recording right into your phone or right into your computer's microphone. I think it's those scenarios where you're in your car and your car has captured your microphone, like by Bluetooth, you know what I mean? Those messages are not audible. For something about that connection, it does not record well. And so I had like 5 or 6 of those this week where I have no idea what you said. I couldn't use them because I think you were in your car talking through your steering wheel. And maybe I know I'm asking a lot right now. If after you've recorded your message, I think you can just hit play for a second. Just give it a quick little double check.
Greetings from Iceland.
Greetings.
And happy Pride. Well done stealing the rainbow from God.
Right.
What an achievement. Anyway, my name is Kjartan, and you can call me Carton, like a carton of eggs. I was scared once, more than once, but when I was scared, I was living in Denmark studying, and I lived on a campus. And I was waking up one morning, but I was stuck. I couldn't do anything. I felt like I couldn't shift gears from being in bed and going about my day. It's not like sleep paralysis. It's similar, but I found out later what it was. I was stuck and I couldn't shift into doing anything. And when I tried, it felt like I was shifting gears in a stick shift car, and not being able to. It was like I tried to shift gears and was grinding gears instead, just going from one into a horrible noise, but it was inside my head.
Like you couldn't
When
move?
I snapped out of it, maybe a day and a night later, I went to the emergency room for psychiatry to get help, and they diagnosed me with schizophrenia, and I had therapy and medicine for schizophrenia for several years, but it was wrong. I didn't have schizophrenia. I'm autistic and ADHD, and I needed a completely different set of therapy and medicine. So everyone, get a second opinion. Thanks for today.
Wow, I've never heard of that. Like you physically couldn't move? I hope this is not insensitive, but when you were telling that story, all I could think about was one time this is when I was a newbie for marijuana edibles, and I went to the dispensary, and I just bought a little box of marijuana. I think I've told this story before. I took way too high of a dose. I think it was probably like 100 milligrams. Like I ate the whole thing. That's a lot, you guys. And like 40 minutes later, I was paralyzed. I was laying in my bed, and I physically could not move. It wasn't a scary experience. It just really sucked that I couldn't move. It felt like for like 6 hours. It was probably only for like 30 minutes, but it was terrible. What I'm saying is I relate with you.
So when I was like 15, my family moved to this property, had like 15 acres. And me and my mom were riding the four-wheeler through the backwoods of our property, and I was taking a video on my phone. And then I was watching it back later that night, and in the background I see this like figure of a man run past in the woods.
Oh, God.
And I showed my mom, and I was freaking out, and she was freaking out, like, there's a man on our property? Like, is a homeless man? What is going on? And meanwhile, it's dark outside, so we're like panicking, locking all the doors. We were trying to slow down the video, like get a screenshot, something, but it was so fast. So we like took a screenshot of what we could, and we posted it on Facebook. And we're like, surrounding neighbors, be careful, because there's this man lurking in the woods. And so the next day, we decided to go through the same route on our four-wheeler, and I took a video in the same spot I was holding my phone, just to like get some more clues. And then when I played back the second video, we realized it was just a leaf that looked like a man. So we were freaking out, unlocking our doors and posting it on Facebook for a leaf. So, yeah.
One time I went camping with a friend. What was that? Oh, for those in the know, it was Cornerstone, if you know what that is. So we were camping around a lot of other people, and we were walking back to our campsite, and it was really dark. We didn't have flashlights. We didn't have cell phones with flashlights on them, so we were walking back in the dark, and we open the tent, and a bear or a dog, it was so pitch black, it was hard to see, but this black cloud lunged toward us, and we both saw it, and we screamed and ran back, just totally freaking out, because it was big. We thought it was a little bear, little black bear. And the neighbors woke up, people got out of their tents, because we were blah, and running away in terror. And someone did have a flashlight, and they shined it over into our tent, and we both at the same time when they shined the light on it, we both at the same time saw that it was a trash bag that had it was a big plastic garbage bag that had kind of inflated, caught the wind in some way. I think when we opened the tent door, the air kind of sucked it toward us, and we fell to the ground laughing hysterically because everyone around us saw us running away, screaming at the plastic bag. What do we have here?
You are listening to the Call Kevin podcast.
I have been scared my entire life to be 100% myself. As a homosexual in my late 30s, it is something I am deeply aware of, seeking constant validation from society, from my family, from my heteronormative friends, and even the LGBTQIA plus community. I get a little less scared every day, but it's something that I work towards every day as well.
If you're in your late 30s, so I'm guessing, you're 12 to 15 years younger than me. And, what do I know? This is one of those moments I'm just sort of telling you my off the top of my head thoughts. I don't know this person. I'm not giving you any advice right now. I've wondered about the different difficulties that exist now for someone sort of trying to be themselves, trying to accept themselves. Because when I was coming of age and trying to figure myself out, when
It was the 90s.
people weren't really talking about gay people the way that they do now, or even, I'm guessing, when this person was coming of age in the 2010s, when social media was increasingly part of our lives, the doom scroll, the constant connection of our phones. Gay people and trans people sort of have leapt to the forefront of a lot of people's minds because of that connection. I think it can maybe cause anxieties that didn't exist when I was figuring it out in the 90s. When I was figuring it out, it was lost and scary feeling. It was empty feeling, but it was almost like there were no voices. It wasn't like the people around me were really super aware of gay people or that I was struggling in any sort of way. No one really knew that. It was all inside me. It was truly a secret. People weren't thinking in Indiana, in Evansville, Indiana in 1992. People weren't really thinking about gay people the way that they do today. Do you know what I mean? So in some ways, even though there's been a lot of progress, it's also a thing that a lot of people think about more, especially people who are against it, against you. Those are different kinds of anxieties that you might have to deal with. I hope that you can learn to live with less and less fear, and then eventually with no fear. I guess this is a good time for a dance break.
Dance break in your car, in your office, where you are. Dance break, move your booty, break it down like it's your duty. Dance break. Dance break.
Okay. Let's do our community bulletin board shoutouts. You guys, I need some new ones. If you have a business or a charity or something you're working on that you'd like to draw attention to, you can email it to me at info@shamalahamala.com. Don't send it to me on Substack because I'm no longer a Substack user. I haven't turned it off or anything, but Substack, if you have tuned out in the last couple weeks, Substack was not really the right fit for me and for us. So I've moved everything back to the email list, back to the way it was, and the podcast service back to the way it was. I need to burp or something. Hold on. It's this San Pellegrino. It's filled me with bubbles. Maybe I need more bubbles. Let's see what happens. Nope. I still need to burp, though. It's going to surprise me. Yes, email me your messages you'd like to share. I would like to, once again, share with you a really cool organization called Strings for Hope. You can go to their website, stringsforhope.com. It's a studio in Nashville that used to be in the same building as me. They collect used guitar strings and strings from instruments, and they work them into pieces of jewelry. They're really cool. They don't look like strings anymore. It's really neat and creative. And it's for a good cause. They help people who are trying to women specifically, who are trying to get back on their feet after unfortunate circumstances. So go check out Strings for Hope and see if there's something there that tickles your fancy. And it's for a good cause. I'd also like to draw your attention to mintybongwater.com. He's my pal. He is also a TikTok explosion from the pandemic. You probably would recognize his face. He did content for a while there that every night it was him saying like, hey, you want a cup of tea? He would give you a cup of tea and a plant and then wish you good night. Do you remember those videos? He makes tea now, and it's really good. It's all handmade. It's all small batch, loose leaf tea. If you're a tea drinker, go check it out at mintybongwater.com. And then finally, I'd like to shout out my own stuff. If you didn't know, I'm about to open an art studio in my neighborhood of Cincinnati, Ohio. I actually get the keys when I get back in a few days. I'm going to start moving in. I'm so excited about this project, you guys. It is, first and foremost, it's just my personal art studio. I'm a photographer. I like making things. It makes me feel good. And this goes with my philosophy that I started talking about at the beginning about this era that we are in. This is sort of what led me to want to do this. And again, this is not my intention here, is not me trying to tell anyone how to live right. These are just things that affect me in some way, and I think maybe some of you might relate. And if you don't, that is absolutely okay. Wherever you're at is where you're at. And especially if you feel good about it, there's no need to heed my advice. It's not even advice. But I started thinking about, in this era that we're in, the world's crazy, regardless of how you feel about anything. It's pretty nutso out there. Often feels like it's kind of falling apart. And we keep hearing this word community, that people need community. And from my perspective and how I personally feel, I think this last decade of technology has isolated us all a little bit. It has me. I think it's kind of turned on our antisocial sensibilities. We stay home. We look at our screens. And so this art space for me was like, what are cool projects I could do that would inspire people to unplug? That's, for me, that sounds attractive. But if it doesn't for you, that's okay too. To inspire people to connect specifically through using art and touching things with your hands, making things, being creative. I think those are like therapeutic things that I love. And I often find that I lose time with my phone, with social media. I'd rather redirect that time toward slowing down, doing something more intentional. So anyway, this art space is about to open, and I've got a whole bunch of ideas. It's gonna be a thing that evolves as I experiment with what works and what doesn't. But even if you don't live in my neighborhood of Cincinnati, Ohio, you can still enjoy some of the things that come out of Shamala Hamala, because I'm going to post a lot of it. You're gonna see it on my social media channels. It's probably gonna be a huge part of my content for a while. And if that sounds like your jam, if you like intentionality, if you like art, if you like artsy things, if you just like the idea of connecting with people through creative, fun things, go check out my website, shamalahamala.com. There's some information there that you can check out, see if you are interested in being a part of it, and there's a separate email list for shamalahamala.com to stay in the loop of what's going on in Kevin's art studio.
Hi, Kevin. My name is Patrick. I got to come to your Columbus show, which you said was your first one of the tour. We had a lot of fun, so thanks for that. I had some thoughts that I wanted to share. One, I love how when you do your show and you sort of start panicking because something messes up and you're worried about maybe needing to redo it. I think, when I've listened to the calls and some of the shout outs, I think your audience is a lot of artists and creatives, and I think it's really, humbling and inspiring for us to hear like what an authentic production sounds like, and that it's okay that not everything is, perfect, because I certainly feel like I'm going to be judged as soon as I put something out into the world. And I don't like how that might feel. And so I think it is good for us to hear that. And it's real and it's good. And it's one of the things that, you talk about a lot. So I think we need to hear it. So thank you for that. I may just call back again another time, because I'm doing that thing already where I'm like, my thing is not ready. So I'll just say that
we're doing the
now.
same thing.
Big fan out in Columbus, and maybe I'll call again another time.
Oh, see, you second guessed yourself and you wanted to start over. Well, thanks for saying that. I mean, it certainly is real what I'm doing here, mistakes and all.
Hi, this is Willow. I'm just sitting here at work making brooms at North Woven Broom, and I was listening to episode 12, and somebody was saying they miss Blockbuster, and I was thinking I used to work at a video store when I was a teenager, and there was a gentleman who would come in and rent the same smutty movie from the back room. He would rent the same movie every time he came in. And one time he came in and he was very upset because he had worn out the movie. He broke it. He played it so many times that the tape stretched and eventually snapped. Anyway, he wore out his favorite movie.
Oh, that's so sad.
Anyway, I hope you're having a good day. Bye.
Do you remember? Do I want to talk about this? Okay, let's tread into weird territory. In my first special, my first comedy special, there's a section where I talk about porn quite a bit. And maybe this is just such a Generation X thing. Maybe you had to be there. I know a lot of people have sensitive opinions about pornography and what that is in the world. People have sensitive opinions are really around anything that has to do with our bodies and modesty or the lack of modesty, or especially if it treads into the fear of abuse and that sort of thing. Totally. So I don't want to be insensitive right now. But if you were growing up in the 80s and 90s, there was no internet, of course. And a huge thing on the internet today is pornography, of course. Regardless of how you feel about that, I'm not trying to make comment on that. But if you were a kid growing up in the 80s and 90s, like finding a dirty magazine in the woods or at the baseball park, or we didn't see any of that stuff. It wasn't like readily available in the way that it is today. So Gen X has a lot of memories of being a teenager and like stumbling upon something dirty. You do. And it's probably kind of a funny memory. And then I'm sorry if it's not, but I think it is for a lot of people, of like finding a magazine, oh, should we look at it? No, don't look at it. It's bad. And then you look at it and then you run away from the woods. Or the video store that had that room behind the curtain. Don't go in there. But then one time you did go in there. You weren't supposed to, but you went in there. You stuck your head in there. Because we were so curious. Again, it was just a different world. That stuff was not really available. So when you were at I don't know if Blockbuster did Blockbuster have a dirty movie room? But like the local mom and pop video store definitely had the dirty movie room. And you wanted to look in there so badly, didn't you? Maybe you did. Anyway, sorry for the guy who ruined his favorite dirty movie.
Hi, Kevin.
Hi.
This is Heather, and I'm a fellow Hoosier as well. The scariest thing I think I ever did was to leave Indiana and move to Los Angeles, where my husband and I, lived for 10 years. And while it was very difficult to be away from my family, it was also very fun and liberating, and I'm glad I had that experience of living somewhere so very different from Indiana. Then we had a kid, which was also extremely scary, and decided after a couple of years to come back to Indiana, where I am living today. And I'm about to embark on a new journey because we are attempting to move to the UK, which is also really scary, but I think it'll be a really good decision. Thank you for your show. I really enjoy your videos. Bye.
Hi, Kevin. My name is Mary Lynn. I'm calling from Santa Fe, New Mexico. Grew up in the Northeast, was living in Ireland, and I got a message to move here by saying, "What are you going to do now?" And a voice popped into my head and said, "You're moving to Santa Fe, New Mexico." So, flew home, spent 5 months with my father and my brother trying to talk me out of moving here. And I did it anyway. The scariest time is when I had to hug my father in the driveway and drive away from the home I had grown up in, my dad, who had been my only parent for 15 years. And that was scary. I turned down the street and I almost turned around and went home. And let me tell you, that was 25 years ago. I have built a life here. I'm married. I have a son who's a true norteño, born and raised here. And it was scary, and I wouldn't have changed a thing.
You asked us this week, when in our life we've been scared. And honestly, when in my life have I not been scared? I was scared to graduate high school, scared of what was next, scared to move out of state, go to college in a foreign place where I knew nobody, scared to try and make friends, scared to pick a major and decide what I wanted to study. I was scared of all of that. It ended up being amazing, and my college years were some of the best years of my life. I made some lifelong friends and had some experiences that I will never forget. And then I was scared again to graduate college, scared of what was next, scared of what the rest of my life would bring. And there was a lot of uncertainty. But looking back now, almost 10 years later, it has been so wonderful to navigate life and to not be sure of what was next, and to know that things can ebb and flow and things can change. I've been scared when I've changed jobs, when I've left commitments, but it has always led me to something better, something bigger, something more beautiful.
So I really wanted this welding job at this Komatsu factory in this town I lived in. It was right across the street from where I lived. Everyone said they had good benefits and everything. I worked at other jobs, that were fun, but like management sucked and whatever. And I went off and I eventually got a job at this Komatsu plant, and it was awesome. I was getting paid well. I had really good benefits. But I found out they just like everywhere else, management was awful. They work you to the bone. They put you in dangerous situations and then blame you for it in the end, when like you respond to it in a way in which you survived instead of responding in a way in which they delegated you were supposed to respond to it. So like things like that happened. And I actually did quit because I got popped for a drug test, and I like smoking weed. I'm a fucking welder. Like, I'm destroying my body and breathing heavy metal fumes. Like, why the fuck not? Get off work, It's better than drinking alcohol. And so I knew I was going to fail. The guy giving the drug test said, "Oh, you're a welder, huh?" And I said, "Yep." He goes, "I'm so sorry." And he's like, he knew. So I worked a couple more days and then quit before the results came in. And all the old timers were like super happy for me. They all high-fived me and said, "Yeah, hell yeah, get the hell out of here, man. Like, this ain't it, dude." And so, but then long story short, something happened with my family. I had to go help with, and ended up with a lawsuit and then a bunch of money, and ended up pretty much like in an early retirement in Colorado. And that's where I am now, in a house in the high Rockies in the middle of nowhere. I love this. It's not even a big house, but I got an awesome view. And yeah, I just like, I don't know how my life ended up like this, but yeah, I don't put up with jobs where I'm not treated like a human being, and my skills are exploited to the point where I can't enjoy living at all. Like, that's just, at that point, why not just kill myself?
Oh, lovely ending. Thank you. That had such a surprise and twist at the end. I remember when like drug testing for jobs used to be pretty common, but now that it's legal in like half the states, do companies still marijuana test people, or is it now just like state by state? That seems weird. It's a weird dynamic.
Hi, Kevin. Big fan. I really appreciate all of your content and just your stories and your transparency. It really resonates very deeply. So I really like the prompt for this week. As someone who has lived with fear from a child, I have many stories I could share, but the one I am going to share, I know it may sound a little weird at first, but I promise it ties in. So several months ago, I had problems with my toilet in my home, and I am very poor and do not have money for a plumber. So I went to Google and YouTube and did a lot of researching, found the problem, ordered the part I needed, and felt like a total badass. I was going to do this myself. And when I started working on it, I realized that the shutoff valve next to the toilet didn't work.
because I had turned it off, but now my bathroom was completely flooding with water.
Oh.
And I don't know where the main shutoff is for the
Oh, no.
water. So I'm running to the basement trying to find it, running back upstairs to empty the full jugs of water to put it back underneath just to try and minimize the damage. And I found myself terrified that I had made the situation so much worse, terrified that I wasn't going to be able to fix this. And that whole story taught me to not sit in the fear. I took a moment where I was scared, I was crying, but then I fixed it. I did what I needed to do. And so the point of the story is that I allow myself to feel scared and to acknowledge the fear, but I don't let the fear ground me. I don't let the fear hold me. I don't sit in the fear because I have to keep moving. As someone who's queer, a non-binary, living in a red state, I just have to keep moving. I can't be paralyzed.
I guess I will end today's show, and thank you everyone who shared your stories and your personal thoughts. Thank you. I guess I will end telling you my scariest moment. And it just happened. Well, fairly recently. And it wasn't fear like maybe I've dealt with most of my life. Like a real visceral, like flutter in my chest kind of fear. I've definitely experienced that a lot. But a couple of years ago, my long-term partner and I decided to separate. Actually, in August, it will have been 2 years that I finally packed up my things and left. And that was scary in a way that I'd never experienced before. I've lived a pretty wild, free-flowing kind of life. It takes a lot to paralyze me with fear. But when this one came around, I still haven't really unpacked it. There were so many big, like, existential things. Like, am I really doing this? At 50 years old, am I really going to start over like this? What's going to happen? I'm 50. I never really thought much about life after 50. And now I'm thinking about packing up my things and leaving? What? So it was scary. That's not even really quite the right word. It was like life scary. Does that make sense? Even though I knew it was the right thing, even in the middle of like literally carrying boxes out of that house and into my car, I knew it was the right thing. And I didn't know what would happen next. It was really kind of maybe the first time in my life where I didn't see the future. And that was a lot. But then here I am, a couple years later, unexpected things happening all the time. It's weird. Life is both long and short at the same time. Thanks everyone for listening. Thanks for hanging out. Go to kevinjamesthornton.com and record a question for me or a story for next time. And go check out shamalahamala.com. It's my new art studio coming up pretty soon. Hope you have a fantastic week, everyone. Bye.
It was the night.